Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here today. I'm, of course, Gregor Guy.
My name's Casey.
And for your viewing and educational purposes, we will be presenting the next episode of Baghead Financial. So, what are we going to talk about this week? Obviously, last week we did not touch on the CPI data that came out on, I think it was like the 10th of June for the month of May. We are, it is stated, rather than we are, it is stated that we are at 8.6% over the previous 12-month period on inflation. So, once again, that is up from April, and it just keeps, it's almost like a ladder, man.
I mean, there's just warnings. There's just constant warnings about an oncoming collapse of stock market, of rising inflation. All the news, no matter where you hear, unless you're talking to Joe Biden, all the news is bad.
That's a fair assessment. I heard one of my more liked, I will say, macro, analysts, Raoul Pal, say that, or he had said in a recent interview that he actually believes that the economy is basically like the problem. Now, what he means by that is, everyone's looking at inflation and everything, and so I mean, with companies and everything not meeting their, basically, let's be honest, they have quotas that they need to make for their profit margins and everything,
Which is part of the problem.
So the only way to, deter that is with higher prices. So he basically is stating that the economy is broken. That is not an exact quote. That is me paraphrasing.
Right.
And he's not wrong. And you're right. Profit, with these CEOs and everything, being required to have certain profit margins, especially with, inflation and everything, if those profit margins are, as they say, 8.6% higher than they were just last year, guess what? You're going to see higher prices of goods. And you don't think the company's going to eat that? No, that gets passed on to the customer.
I think there's things that can be done instead of... Look, I'm not an economist. I'm not a CEO. I know that the CEO has to show the stockholders great numbers, but I've seen it in...
The term is fiduciary responsibility.
But that can be taken in different ways too.
For any
they have to do
CEO of a publicly traded company,
right.
They have to be fiduciarily responsible. I mean, this was a whole big thing
right.
with the Elon Twitter.
Yeah. They have to do what's best for the shareholders. But you can in other areas you can say that maybe pushing prices to a certain way isn't the best for the health of the company over a longer term. And you can also state that when you're investing in maybe they're investing in a certain process or a certain way of doing business that would benefit the customers, which in the long run would have a better belief or a better viewpoint or a better outlook at the company, would be better for the shareholders as well. So just pricing is maybe sometimes not the best way to handle the situation.
Right. For, as you have said, the long term, but in the short term,
right.
It gets their profit.
And that's what everybody, and that's all everybody looks at is the short term gains.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, the the only problem with that is, what happens when, guess what? Now consumers are not buying your products because they are priced too high.
That, and they view your company as a crap company.
Yeah, that's a very interesting take. I'm on the same page. But I mean, realistically, that's just what happens everywhere.
Yes,
So
I understand.
realistically, the only other thing happening, over the past week has been Jerome Powell, the head of the, Fed, the chairman of the Fed, rather, recently, actually got his congressional appointment. I believe we touched on that in a previous video. But he was called before Congress to testify about inflation.
Mm-hmm.
And the Senator Elizabeth Warren basically did her best to try and bait him into saying that Russia is the cause of this inflation.
They just try to blame. They just try to make Russia the scapegoat of everything. Literally everything. Everything bad.
That's
it's
going
Russia's
wrong.
fault. It's Russia's fault. They never actually put a mirror up. They don't even have mirrors in their bathrooms. They don't have a mirror in their house in order to look at themselves and have some kind of accepting of part of the blame and the way that they've been handling things and the way they've been handling the country. There's no reflection.
Yes. I totally agree. But, it was so blatantly obvious that she was trying to do this from the clips and everything that I saw. And it was like, are you being worked like a puppet right now? What is going on?
Right.
And if this woman is that insane, there you go, I just said it. Senator Elizabeth Warren is insane.
Did you see that video the other day of when the Russians shot a giant mini missile and Joe
giant
Biden,
mini missile?
Yeah. It was a really fast mini missile, and Joe Biden fell off his bike.
Okay. Fair enough. They hit it with one of those.
Yep, it was a really tiny little missile, and it hit Joe Biden's bike, and he fell off.
Okay. That's. Jesus. There you go. You heard it here first. It's Russia's fault that Biden fell off his bike.
Russia did it.
Wow.
Remember that song? It wasn't me.
It was the one-armed man.
Yeah, they should just do all the bad things. That should be the next Joe Biden campaign video. It would be like that song. It wasn't me. On the bathroom counter, living in the. You know what I'm saying? You know that song?
No, I
oh
don't.
Jesus!
No.
All right.
Hey, you'll have to tell me later.
All right.
But anyway, there we go. That's what's happening this week in the financial world. Realistically, not a whole lot going on. They did talk about, pausing the national, the highway tax or gas tax, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what goes on with that when they actually take that to a vote in Congress. But at the same point in time, expect to be bleeding at the pump. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm of course Gregor Guy.
My name's Casey.
And thank you for watching this episode of Baghead Financial, and everyone out there, try and keep your heads up.
If you didn't like the video, it was Russia's fault.